Chapter 139 of Attack on Titan is finally out. It's finally in English, and I will tell you, I was keeping up with all the leaks. I was reading all of it, and when I was reading the leaks, right, that's why you should never read leaks, because my heart rate was pounding. I thought there's no way this is the actual ending. I mean, we're talking about Eren getting reincarnated as a bird. Ridiculous, right? So I was really worried. I thought the ending of Attack on Titan was gonna be butchered. I absolutely love Attack on Titan. It's my number 2 in my favorite anime list, my top 10 list. So I love Attack on Titan, right? So I definitely want to talk about this chapter. I read the manga after season 4 part 1 was completed, because I'm not gonna get spoiled. So we're gonna jump straight into it. Of course, it starts off with Armin and Eren. Their conversation is essentially confirming what I said a couple episodes back of the anime, where Eren beats the crap out of Armin and says those mean things to Mikasa. I knew there was no way that Eren actually meant that. He was essentially just trying to set everything up, kind of distance himself from his friends, kind of make himself look like the villain, so when it came down to it, they will have the courage, the power to kill him and essentially unite the whole world against a common enemy. Now this, to me, again, is a very similar ending to Code Geass. I love the ending to Code Geass, so I like the ending to this. I just kind of wish it would have been a little bit different, and a couple things would have been differently, and we are going to talk about that stuff later on. Now, when everything happened, everything was explained, Armin gets all his memories back. There's one scene, one panel that I absolutely loved in the last chapter, when Eren breaks down and he kind of tells Armin that he wants to be with Mikasa and stuff like that. I mean, throughout every single episode that I've seen of Attack on Titan, you could probably tell that Mikasa was definitely like in love with Eren, but I never felt that way about Eren. I never felt like Eren actually loved Mikasa. Like, yeah, he cared about her, but he didn't love her like you would love like your girlfriend or wife or anything like that, right? So seeing him break down, finally admitting all of this, it was a very awesome scene, and honestly, I can't wait to see that animated, right? Just listening to the music in the background, it's gonna make that scene very, very powerful, and especially if the voice actor absolutely nails the part, right? And of course, they probably are, because they have top tier talent. Now, moving on to the next part, which again I was kind of disappointed in. When all the Titans that were turned, Connie, Jean, when they were turned into Titans in chapter 138, that panel was absolutely great. I mean, them hugging each other, saying goodbye. I mean, again, a very powerful panel, and I'm disappointed by it, because in this chapter, it was reverted back. It's like it never happened, and to me, I hate when animes do that. I mean, I hate when mangas do that as well. I haven't read too many mangas, but I just hate it, because what's the point, right? If you're essentially going to revert what you did in the previous chapter, why even bother doing it, right? Because I honestly, even though Jean and Connie are not like my favorite characters by any means, them hugging each other, them knowing and accepting that death was coming their way, that their fight was over and turning into Titans. As far as we know, the only way to turn back into a human form is by eating one of the other nuns, and just them turning back into humans because Ymir decided that there should be no more Titans. That to me just kind of felt like a cop-out, so I was disappointed by that. And another thing that it just flew over my head, I don't understand how essentially Eren gave credit to Mikasa as the reason why Ymir did what she did. We learned that Ymir was in love with King Fritz, and through some of the conversations that I had with other people, they kind of explained it in a way that I think it makes sense, but to me, I feel like that was still a loose end for us as the viewers to kind of fit in what we think happened. And it seems like maybe Mikasa, since she was in love with Eren but still decided to kill him because that's what the world needed, that kind of gave Ymir, like, open her eyes and kind of abandon King Fritz completely and kind of undo everything that happened, right? That's the kind of little theory that I got, and it makes sense to me in the way they explained it. But let me know in the comments what you thought about that. Maybe you can explain it better, because that to me, it definitely feels like a loose end. Now let's talk about my favorite moment in this chapter, and that of course is when Erwin, Hansch, and all the scouts kind of showed up to say goodbye to everybody. I was really gonna be disappointed if they just came back, but that's not the case. It was kind of like them being in the path, or whatever that thing is called, and just essentially saying goodbye to all the different characters, and that final salute between the scouts and Levi. I mean, just thinking about that scene, I mean, I did not cry, but my eyes got a little bit watery, because I mean, damn, Erwin, one of my favorite characters. I mean, he died. What an awesome death he had. All of his moments are absolutely great, and seeing him back, looking at Levi and them giving each other that salute, the final goodbye. I mean, just imagine that again in the anime with music playing in the background. You know, emotions are going to be hurt. You know, people are going to be crying. I mean, if I would probably cry if I was not like a manga reader and I saw that for the first time. Oh, that would probably destroy me. But yeah, it was a very beautiful moment and I loved it. Now, we did get a time skip of 3 years and we get to see Historia and her baby and that farmer that's supposedly the father. Now, to me, again, I was kind of disappointed by that. And I was kind of thinking they were building something greater with Historia and her baby, right? Like they talked about it a little bit. They were kind of hinting at some stuff just to actually be Historia having a baby, and that's it. To me, I feel like they kind of just dropped that storyline. They probably didn't have enough time to fit it in, and they just kind of dropped it. That's what it feels like to me. Again, I could be wrong. I know there are some people out there that read the chapter over and over and over. They understand every little every little detail of the story, and maybe they can explain that as well. But to me, that kind of just felt like a disappointment, honestly. Now we get to see Levi. He's in a wheelchair. I feel bad for Levi, but we see Falco and Gabby obviously taking care of him. So it seems like Gabby had a change of heart. She doesn't hate Eldians anymore, and we are going to talk about that because one of my theories, of course, is all headcanon. I do think that what Eren did is essentially dooming Paradise Island. We are going to talk about that. I just want to get through the chapter real quick. And then finally, there's the Mikasa scene where she's next to Eren's grave. And I believe that's where everything began. I believe that's the same tree where Eren woke up in episode 1. I believe that's where his grave is at. And seeing Mikasa by herself alone, that's also hitting me very, very hard. Like, she's essentially going to live the rest of her life by herself. And even though that bird came in and kind of pecked at her scarf and she had a smile in her face, you can still see the sadness in her eyes. And, you know, she's essentially going to just be in love with Eren for the rest of her life and not find somebody else. And that's obviously very, very sad. Now, let's talk about what I think why Eren essentially doomed Paradise Island, because he killed 80% of the population. The 20% that are left, remember, everybody outside of Paradise Island, they kept the Eldians under control. They mistreated the Eldians. They treated them like devils for 2,000 years. That amount of hate doesn't go away in one day, especially when Eren literally killed 80% of the population. You know how many people lost family, loved ones? I don't think, especially in the world of Attack on Titan, where all these humans have been conditioned to hate Eldians for 2,000 years, after this event, after the rumbling, I don't think for a second they are going to forget, and I don't think they are going to forgive. And that's why we get that panel of all the people in Paradise Island chanting, you know, if we win, we live, and if we lose, we die, because they know war is looming, right? The whole world, the 20% that are left, they could potentially, they were already allied. They were already preparing to attack the island. So for me, I feel like this is just confirming them that they are going to attack, that they are going to unite, because again, I don't think the world leaders that are left are going to leave it alone. Again, a lot of people lost a lot of loved ones. 80% of the population is gone. There has to be some type of war or something, yeah, because that's the way human is. That's human nature. They're gonna want revenge. So I honestly think Paradise Island is doomed, and that's probably the reason why Isayama decided to leave it this way, right? Because it's up to us, the viewers, to interpret, to kind of like read and what's going to happen in the future. And that's just the way that I look at it. But let me know in the comments what you thought of this episode. I thought the ending was good. It wasn't a bad ending by any means. There's definitely a lot of mangas that have horrible endings. Not the ending I expected. I honestly wanted Eren to go all out and literally kill everybody, but that's not what we got. Still, it's a good ending. If I had to rate the series, honestly, I would give it a 9 out of 10. Just the negatives for me are really just the whole Mikasa, that loose end. They really didn't explain that well. And then, of course, we have all the characters coming back, like Connie, Jean, Gabby, all the characters that were turned into Titans, they essentially came back. Even Connie's mother came back. And I really just don't like when animes do that, when mangas do that at the end. It feels like a cop-out. So yeah, I would rate it a 9 out of 10. Let me know in the comments, what would you rate this manga? What would you rate the overall story in the comments down below? And like always, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next episode.